So, last week I went out to get a whiteboard because I wanted to do a draw of my life. And I thought, why not now? No time like the present. So, a week later, I actually did the audio for it. So, here it goes. When a mummy and a daddy love each other very much, they do something that I'd rather not draw my mum and dad doing. But nevertheless, 9-ish months later, on the 1st of January 1995, I was eventually born. I say eventually because almost like a prediction of my love of lions, it took over 40 hours for me to be born, which my mum will not let me live down. I was a chubby baby who loved cake and Lambrini from a very young age. Classy, I know. In fact, for one of my nana's birthdays, I dived headfirst in a chocolate cake that was meant to be her birthday cake, and at the age of 3, I got tipsy off a glass of Lambrini. I no longer like Lambrini, but I still like cake. At the age of 3, my mum asked me whilst walking to school whether I wanted a dog or a baby brother. I instantly shouted with joy, "Dog!" But since this was a rhetorical question, as my mum was already pregnant with my brother, I was bitterly disappointed. And ever since, still never did get that dog. Again, 9 months later, and this thing that definitely wasn't the puppy that I was hoping for was born. On the occasion of my brother's birth, I decided to come see him in a full set of knight's armour, including a sword. This isn't a joke, I like to dress up, and on this day I was 19, more of my little childhood fantasies later. Now, I take full pride in being the person who named my brother. That day I was Sir Dean, a name giver. Well, sort of. I got asked what I thought he should be called, and I gave them the name that 4-year-old me genuinely believed was the best name you could have. Dean. I was adamant this new baby would have the same name as me, and got very confused as to why I could not name him Dean. After 14 attempts, this however wasn't working, so 4-year-old me thought of another bald person I knew, which was someone in my family called Steve, and thus I named my brother. It was at this point that I showed my geeky side. I had a hat with Super Dean on it. This was something I would always wear, and genuinely called myself Super Dean for a good few years of my life. So much so that every other kid on my street used to actually think that my name was Super Dean. I also convinced them I had a lab up in my bedroom like Dexter's laboratory. Before I had a TV in my room, I used to read. Like, a lot. Even in breaks in school, I was a great speller. And, surprise, I got bullied for it. Well, it was either that, or the massive years I inherited from my dad, or the chubbiness. I blame that on my love of food, personally. But from then on, I had a massive bullying problem, which I kept from my family for a long while. It was then my eyes decided to give out on me, and I had to wear glasses. You ever see that kid crying in the opticians? I was that guy. And yep, I was a Harry Potter look-alike. Go me. I then had these computer games that had sent me into a fit. That night I had walked into the hospital for a male nurse asking to take my blood. I was 8 years old and always thought that nurses were women. This guy looked like Shia LaBeouf and spoke as if he was on helium. If at this point he hadn't already given me something to laugh at, the squeaky voice was enough to give me the giggles. Let me tell you, never laugh at someone who is about to take your blood. He has a needle. From this moment on until the start of my teens, I had repeated fits, which resulted in what felt like to me a lot of time in hospital. Whether it was for checkups on my epilepsy, or if I had a fit, there many a time I would wake up in my boxes in an ambulance. It was from here that I developed the fear of van doors, and the sounds they make when they close. Even now I shudder at the sound. I suppose I never had to be taught, though, not to go near creepy old men with candy in their vans. It was my time spent in days in hospital that I'd find my love of films. I would spend all day in bed watching my new films from the list of films the hospital would supply. I actually saw Back to the Future for the first time in hospital. Perks of being a sick kid were, if the school went to a trip to London for an overnight thing, my family would go for a week instead. That was fun. Scaring people in Madame Tussauds was a highlight. But as secondary school came, my fits became manageable, and I haven't had one for over 5 years now. In secondary school, I found my awkward stage. I was no longer bullied as much, but I was given a hell of a lot of reasons to be bullied. I had a mullet for a good 6 months. Yeah, that's not right. I lost a good bit of weight and found my love of drama and singing. I also had a brief stint of sports. Yeah, I know, drama, singing, High School Musical moment. But a kid got extremely angry at me and put me off sports entirely. That kid later on turned out to be one of my best friends that I properly met last year. Hey Liam! I entered a new choir called Only Boys Allowed, which skyrocketed my confidence. That year we did the Ryder Cup, where I met so many amazing people, and some not so great people. Well, that's awkward. I entered my school shows, where I eventually became the lead in the last year. I was at a high in my life. I went on to do performing arts for a year, which was some of the best moments of my life. I managed to get a 4-pack at one point as well. This was when I went on to do Britain's Got Talent with Only Boys Allowed, which we came third on. We lost to a dog. Not that I'm bitter or anything. I'm more bitter that my hair was down to my shoulders and that I actually looked like a Labrador. We went on to record an album and do amazing things, which had highlights for singing for the Queen in Buckingham Palace, and then an opera with Stephen Fry, where he played a giant lumberjack. Everything was going very well. A year later, I had a meltdown. Everything built up, and honestly, I'm going to brush over this very quickly. This year was when I set out to start YouTube properly. I'd attempted it a couple of times, but this time I wanted to do it by myself and on my own time. What happened after was I found the people in my life who were worth it. And that feels like it's cliche, and I'm sorry I put you through that sentence. So, now we're up to 2015. My birthday was a beautiful celebration of friendship and a great start to hopefully an optimistic year. I saw in the new year with like-minded people who I enjoy being around. So, we brought it up to date. I set up my own company, and I'm part of 2 other companies that I hope will prosper this year. Where I'm writing this is in Costa. When I'm recording this is in my bedroom about a week later. It is 32 days into 2015 and 32 days into being 20. Costa people had surrounded me at this point, and I honestly thought that this was where I was going to die, in a Costa. So, let me finish my Draw My Life by saying thank you to you for watching. At this point in time, I have 94 subscribers, and I could not be more happy. Let's see how the rest of the year pans out with the people that matter. Thanks for watching.
Dheanasaur,